Are you currently suffering from pain on the outside of your hip and been told that you have something like gluteal tendinopathy or bursitis? If so, this video is going to be super powerful for you. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dr. Zach Gruitt here at Performance Sport and Spine in Seattle, Washington. In this video, I'm going to talk about 6 powerful tips to help you manage this condition and understand it. Everything from accurate diagnosis to what it's not, and then the best rehab and treatment options. Stick around, as it's going to be super helpful. First thing is an accurate diagnosis. We got to make sure that the pain you're feeling is actually this condition and not something else. So fortunately, there's some simple steps and tests that we can do. So the first thing is this pain's going to be on the outside of your hip over that big bone called the greater trochanter. If you touch the side of your hip, you should feel a bone poking out. The pain is most time on the outside or lateral aspect, but it can radiate down the leg, not past the knee, or it can go into the buttock sometimes. Also, this radiating pain will not have numbness or tingling. The pain's going to be worse at night, especially laying on that side, and single loading activities. Also, there's 4 amazing tests that this researcher, Alison Gamardi, came up with that can really help you inform about what this is. The first one is going to be palpation or pressing on that big bone on the outside of your hip. The second one is a single leg stance at 30 seconds. At that time, do you have some pain or discomfort that reproduces your pain? The third one is testing those muscles on the outside of your hip. So laying on your side with your leg kind of crossed midline in an adduction position, you're going to test the strength of your abductors or those glute muscles. If they're painful weak, this is a positive test. And the last one is a Faber test. So that's kind of stressing the hip and those tendons to see if it reproduces your pain. If all 4 of these reproduce your pain, there's a 99% chance that you have this condition. So it's really good and really powerful to let us know what you're dealing with without any imaging. The second is this is primarily a tendon issue, not a bursa issue. A lot of people get diagnosed as gluteal bursitis where the bursa is inflamed, and it can be the pain generator. But you got to think about why, not just what. Why is that bursa irritated? So the IT band's on the outside, the bursa's in the middle, and then the glute tendon's on the inside. And it's meant to kind of absorb compression. But when you have too much load, faulty mechanics, or too much compression, that tendon and bursa can get irritated. So even if the bursa is part of the pain generator, it's not the underlying problem. And correcting those biomechanics and strengthening that tendon is how you're going to fix this. So think of this as tendinopathy, not bursitis. Furthermore, if you look at MRI studies, when they take images of your hip, the bursa in isolation is very, very rare. It's about 2 to 8% of all the cases. So more than 90% of the cases, that tendon is involved in the primary problem. So if you're applying ice or getting corticosteroid injections, it may provide some short-term relief, but it's not going to improve function. Unfortunately, 1 in 4 women over 50 will suffer from this condition. So it's really prevalent, and a lot of times people are given the wrong information, and a lot of people I've worked with are told to stretch their hip, do massage, do ice, and they suffer. So this video is to help you, empower you to know what to do. Thirdly, lifestyle and posture modifications. So when we think back to what I talked about, that greater trochanter, that bone on the outside of your hip, the bigger it is, the more compression it puts on that tendon, which is why this is more common in females than males. Well, there's also things throughout the day that can put compression. So when you think about it, if you bring your leg up, like bring your knee towards your hip and bring it inwards, that's going to be a flexion and internal rotation and adduction position. And that's going to put more pressure on that tendon. So when you go through your day, you need to find ways not to do that. So the first one is sitting. First of all, just try to sit less if you can. If you do have to sit, make sure your feet are wider than shoulder width apart as we show you here, not close together. Also, there's a wedge that can help kind of lift your hips up. You don't want your knees to be higher than your hips, so you want your hips to be higher than your knees to take less compression. We'll put a link in the wedge in the description below. For standing, you want to make sure you don't hang into that hip, especially people that are carrying babies. If you're holding that baby and kind of sinking into that hip, you're going to put more compression. So make sure you're standing with shoulder width apart as we show you here. Walking, make sure to keep your feet from crossing midline. You want to make sure that you're kind of staying tall on that hip and your feet are shoulder width apart or wider. Don't sit cross-legged ever if you can. For sleeping, try to make sure you're on your back with a pillow on the side, or if you do lay on your side, make sure that pillow is between your legs so your leg's not crossing over. As soon as you do that, it's going to hurt. So basically what I'm going to show you here is the things with the green check are going to feel good. The things with the red X are not. So try to not do the things with the red X. Don't think for perfection, just improvement. Another helpful thing with sleeping is get a good gel mattress foam pad to put on your bed, and that's going to help dissipate the force over that bone, and that's really a game changer for having your night pain be less. One last thing is with walking upstairs, it's similar to walking. You want to make sure your feet are shoulder width apart and that pelvis stays level. As you kind of sink in, if your foot kind of crosses over, you put more pressure on that tendon. So as you walk up, just think about keeping your feet shoulder width apart or wider. You can use the opposite rail to kind of balance and then just be tall on that hip. Another helpful hint is kind of find like your level of pain tolerance. So if you think of the pain scale, 0 is no pain and 10 is the worst pain ever, typically about a 4 out of 10, so the upper edge of mild. If you're doing any activity, especially in early stage rehab, that's anything that's more than 4 out of 10, you gotta stop. You can't push through it. If you push through it, you're gonna pay for it that night or the next morning. It might feel tedious and frustrating, but big pictures can help you get better a lot faster. Next is just work with someone that specializes. I do a lot of online sessions for this very reason. Now I get it. You wanna go to someone that's close by that takes your insurance. But the truth is they're probably gonna give you the wrong stuff. They're gonna tell you to stretch your hip, do crab walks and clamshells, which at best isn't gonna help and at worst gonna make it worse. You want to find someone that can specialize in this to help reassure you, connect the dots and clarify what's going on, and then most importantly, give you the right treatment plan for you and start you at the right level. Too often people are underloaded or overloaded, so your pain spikes and you get more frustrated. Trust me, long term you're going to save way more time, stress, and money by finding someone that knows what they're talking about than just using your insurance. If you're interested in working together and getting you out of pain and back to recovery, my email is greenwade@perfsportandspine.com. It's on the screen. Shoot me an email and we'll talk about scheduling an appointment and getting you better. The fifth tip is focus on exercise and education. Now, nothing has more evidence for this condition than those two things. But unfortunately, with social media, the glamorous like infrared or ultrasound get way more attention. That tendon is weak and you need to strengthen it up. Now, I have lots of videos here of showing you the exercise progression. Now, some people need it more personalized, which is where those online sessions come in. Focus on building that tendon strength and improving function. Now your pain may vary, but if you need to strengthen that tendon over time, nothing's gonna prepare your hip for the demands of walking and going upstairs like exercises. So if you do nothing and have these treatments, your pain may go away, but the second you go back to doing things, the pain's gonna flare up. Now a couple of things, PRP and shockwave have been shown to be helpful as an augment to exercise and rehab, and dry needling has shown to be helpful, especially in the acute session of calming down that pain, as much as corticosteroids. One thing important to note is that if you have a tear, if that glute tendon is mildly torn, you should not get any injections because it can only further damage that. But basically with this section is you need to start at the right entry point, progressively load that tendon, and then increase it over time. So week 1, you're doing 2 sets of 6. At week 3, you should be doing 2 sets of 6 at a much harder exercise. It's not about doing more reps, it's about increasing the intensity to improve that adaptation. Last section is how to monitor the pain and know if the pain is safe or unsafe. So thinking back to that scale, that oral pain scale, 0 is no pain and 10 is the worst pain ever. A 4 is a good rule of thumb, is that the pain should not elevate that. So if you're doing your glute bridges, let's say the pain starts as a 2 and it elevates to a 4, maybe it's a little bit more irritated 2 hours after. By the next morning, it's back to baseline. That's good. That means you strengthened the tendon, it was a little uncomfortable, but it recovered quickly. On the opposite side, let's say you do the exercises, you're like, oh, the pain was fine, it was a 6, but I could handle it. And the next morning you wake up and you're limping, you did too much. You overloaded that tendon, and it's not about how much you can handle, it's what the tendon can handle. So you gotta start slow, especially early. You only can do what the tendon can handle and follow those pain parameters. The second part of this is later in rehab, your pain's gonna go down, you're gonna get excited, and you're probably gonna push too much. Everyone does. So let's say you're walking 10 to 15 minutes a day. And your friend calls you and you haven't seen her in a long time, so you walk 40 minutes a day. And the pain was okay during, so you thought it was safe, and the next morning you wake up and your pain's just killing you. You gotta think, hey, I've done like 2.5 times more than I did. I overloaded the hip. That's okay, I'll learn from it and do better, and I gotta rest. So maybe you gotta wait 2 days until the pain goes down. But think of that tendon strength of that tendon in the blue line has increased. That pain is independent. So you didn't start over. That tendon strength that you've gained is still there. You just gotta wait for the pain to calm down before you do it again. So reassure yourself that you're not starting over, you just push a little too hard and you'll wait till it gets back on and then you'll start rehab again. Thank you for watching our video on the 6 tips for this gluteal tendinopathy. They're really pragmatic and helpful. I promise you follow them and implement them, you're gonna see big changes. There's also some other great videos on our channel. If you did like this video, please like it and subscribe to it.